The iron chains rattled with each labored breath he took, the sound echoing through the vaulted ceiling of the Viridian Court's judgment hall. Kyle pressed closer to the marble pillar, trying to remain invisible among the crowd of nobles and courtiers who had gathered for what they were calling entertainment. She shouldn't be here. Omegas weren't allowed in the inner court, not without a noble's explicit permission. But when whispers had spread through Ashvale that morning about the Beast King being brought to trial, something had pulled her here. Some instinct she couldn't name. "Behold!" Lord Cassian's voice rang out, smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. The king's high inquisitor stood on the raised dais, his silver robes pristine against the crimson banners of the crown. The so-called Alpha King of Silverpine, Theron the Untamed, brought low at last. The man chained at the center of the hall was massive, even on his knees. Dark hair fell across a face carved from granite, obscuring eyes that Cale somehow knew would be extraordinary. His clothes, once fine, hung in tatters that revealed a warrior's body marked with wounds. Silver cuffs bound his wrists, not iron, Cale noted with growing dread. Silver meant they knew what he was. "The charges are numerous," Cassian continued, circling his prisoner like a predator. "Trespassing on crown lands, refusing the king's authority, violating the treaty that protected his sister, Princess Mira, in exchange for peace, existing as an abomination against nature itself." He paused for effect. "The sentence is death by silver blade at dawn." A murmur rippled through the assembled nobles. Excitement, fear, and bloodlust mixed in equal measure. "Unless," Cassian added, his lips curling into a smile that made Cale's stomach turn, "someone wishes to claim him. 10 gold sovereigns and he's yours to do with as you please." Cale's heart hammered against her ribs. 10 gold sovereigns was more money than her entire village would see in 5 years. "Come now," Cassian taunted when silence greeted his offer. "Surely someone here has use for an alpha? Think of the work you could extract from him." A few nobles laughed. One young lord stepped forward with clear interest. "What guarantee do we have that he won't tear our throats out the moment those chains are removed?" "None whatsoever," Cassian replied cheerfully. "That's what makes it exciting." Cale watched as the prisoner, Theron, finally lifted his head. His eyes swept across the crowd, and she caught her breath. They were gray and fierce and utterly unbroken despite everything they'd done to him. When his gaze found hers across the crowded hall, something electric passed between them. Recognition, though they'd never met. His eyes widened fractionally, and she saw his nostrils flare as if catching a scent. Then Cassian grabbed a fistful of his hair, yanking his head back. 8 gold then, 6. Come, someone must want him." But no one moved. "Very well." Cassian sighed dramatically. "I suppose we'll proceed with the execution, though it seems such a waste. The last of the old bloodlines," ended with a whimper rather than a roar. "Wait." The word escaped Cale's lips before her mind could catch up. Every eye in the judgment hall turned toward her. The weight of their stares was crushing, but Cale forced herself to step out from behind the pillar. Her plain brown dress marked her clearly as an Omega of no rank or standing. "An Omega?" Cassian's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "How amusing! Tell me, little Omega, do you have 6 gold sovereigns hidden in that shabby dress?" Cale's cheeks burned, but she kept her chin up. "No, my lord." "Then what exactly are you waiting for?" Cale's eyes found Theron's again. She saw surprise there now, and something else. A warning, perhaps. A plea for her to turn away, to save herself. That decided her. "I'm waiting to make you an offer you can't refuse," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Cassian laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "This should be entertaining." "Please, do enlighten us all." Cale's mind raced. She had nothing. No money, no status, no leverage, nothing except 1 night, she said clearly. "Give me 1 night beside him, alone and unchained. If I survive until dawn, you release him into my custody with all charges pardoned." The hall erupted in shocked whispers. "And if you don't survive?" Cassian asked. "Then you get your execution," Kale replied. "2 bodies instead of 1. Surely that's entertainment enough for the court." "Kale, no." The voice came from near the doors. Lyra, her younger sister, had followed her despite orders to stay home. The girl's face was pale with terror. "Please, you can't." But Kale couldn't stop now. She could feel Theron's eyes boring into her, could sense the tension in his frame. "Done." Cassian clapped his hands together. "I accept your wager, little Omega. Tonight, you'll be locked in the Eastern Tower with the Beast King. No chains, no guards, no weapons. Just you and him, and whatever instincts you possess." He leaned closer. "I do hope you're a fast runner." The nobles erupted in excited chatter, already placing bets on how long she would last. 2 guards hauled Theron to his feet. As they dragged him past her toward the tower, he managed to turn his head, catching her gaze one more time. His lips moved, forming words she couldn't hear, but she thought she caught "foolish" and "run." "This way, Omega." A guard gripped her arm, not gently. "Best say your goodbyes now." Kale embraced Lyra quickly, feeling her sister's tears against her neck. "Be brave," she whispered. "If I don't come back, go to the old healer Rian in the lower city. She'll take care of you." "You'll come back," Lyra sobbed. "You have to." But as Kale was led toward the eastern tower, she wasn't sure which outcome scared her more. The tower door slammed shut behind her with a finality that echoed in her bones. Across the circular room, still in those silver cuffs, Theron watched her with eyes that held secrets she couldn't begin to fathom. "Well," Kyle said into the heavy silence, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "I suppose we should introduce ourselves properly." Theron's response was a low growl that vibrated through the stone floor and straight into her chest. Not entirely human, not entirely animal. Something ancient and powerful and utterly beyond her understanding. But it was far too late for second thoughts now. The eastern tower room was sparse, a stone floor, a narrow window too high to reach, and a single torch flickering in its bracket. No furniture, no comfort, nothing but cold stone and growing darkness as sunset painted the sky. And Theron. He'd moved to the farthest corner, his back against the wall, those silver cuffs still binding his wrists. Even seated, he was enormous. "The cuffs," Kale said softly, taking a careful step closer. "They're hurting you." His eyes tracked her movement with predatory precision. When he spoke, his voice was deep, rough from disuse. "Stay. Back." So he did speak the common tongue. That was something at least. "I'm not afraid of you," Kale lied. One dark eyebrow rose in clear skepticism. "Stupid. Or suicidal." "Perhaps both," Kale admitted. She lowered herself to sit on the cold floor, deliberately making herself smaller, less threatening. "But I didn't save you from execution just to cower in the corner all night." "Save?" He laughed without humor. "You bought yourself a death sentence, Omega. Then we'll face it together." Kale had hidden small bundles of herbs in the folds of her dress, nothing the guards had bothered to search for. She pulled them out now, along with strips of cloth. "At least let me tend your wounds." "Why?" The question seemed torn from him. "You don't know me." Kyle sorted through her supplies. "When I was 8, my mother got sick. I needed silver leaf tea to break her fever, but it only grew in Silverpine territory. Your territory." She looked up, meeting his gaze. "I went anyway. Got lost. A wolf found me, huge, silver gray. It led me to the silver leaf, then guided me home. My mother lived because of that wolf." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "One of my pack. So when I saw you chained and bleeding, I remembered. Sometimes mercy is repaid with mercy. Silence stretched between them. Then, slowly, Theron extended his arms, offering his wounded wrists. Kale rose and crossed to him. This close, she could see the true extent of the damage. The silver cuffs had burned into his skin, leaving raw wounds. Worse, dark veins spread from those burns, threading up his arms. "Silver toxicity," she breathed. "How long have you worn these?" 3 days. His jaw clenched. "Since they ambushed my patrol." 3 days. Kyle's heart sank. Theron. Silver poisoning this advanced, even if I remove the cuffs. "I know," he said simply. "No." Kale's hands moved with sudden urgency, crushing herbs between her palms. "I won't let you die." As Kale worked, applying paste to burns around the cuffs, she felt him watching her. Not with predatory intensity now, but with something softer. "You're not afraid anymore," he observed. "I'm terrified," Kale corrected. "But fear and compassion can exist in the same heart." She reached for the buckles on the cuffs, but Theron's hand caught her wrist. Not roughly, but firmly. "Don't." His voice had dropped to something gravelly. "When these come off, I won't be able to control it." "Control what?" His eyes met hers and she saw genuine fear there. "The beast. The silver's been suppressing the shift, but the poison is spreading. When it reaches my heart." He swallowed hard. "I won't remember you saved me. I'll only know prey." Kale's pulse jumped, but she didn't pull away. "Then we'll manage it together." "You don't understand." "I understand that silver toxicity will kill you within hours," Kale said firmly. "Let me help." "Please." Theron stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. The buckles were stiff with blood, but Kale's fingers were nimble. The first cuff fell away with a metallic clang. Theron hissed in pain and relief. "One more," Kale murmured. The moment it fell away, Theron's entire body convulsed. His eyes rolled back, and when they refocused, they were no longer gray. They were molten gold. "Theron," Kale whispered. The growl that answered was purely animal. And as his body began to change, bones cracking and reforming, Kale realized she'd made a terrible miscalculation. Hours had passed since nightfall, and the true test was only beginning. Kale scrambled backward as Theron's transformation rippled through him. His clothes tore, skin giving way to silver-gray fur. His face elongated into a muzzle filled with teeth that could tear through bone. But he didn't fully shift. He remained trapped in a horrifying middle state, too human to be wolf, too wolf to be human. "Theron, listen to me." Kale pressed her back against the cold stone wall. "You're still in there." The creature that had been Theron swayed on its feet, those golden eyes fixed on her with feral intensity. Its nostrils flared, drinking in her scent. A low whine escaped its throat, followed by a snarl. It was the poison, she realized. The silver toxicity was driving him mad, caught between forms. He was trapped, suffering, and his beast was in survival mode, which meant she was prey. The creature lunged. Kale dove to the side, feeling claws whistle past her shoulder. She rolled and came up running, circling the room desperately. "Theron!" She tried again. "Fight it!" But the beast was beyond reason. It stalked her with predatory patience, cutting off escape routes. Then she remembered. Wolves responded to submission. It went against every survival instinct, but Kale dropped to her knees and bowed her head, exposing her neck. "I submit," she whispered. "I'm not your enemy." The creature's growling stopped. Kyle heard the pad of its feet approaching, felt its hot breath against her neck. Every muscle screamed at her to run. Instead of violence, she felt something unexpected. A cold, wet nose pressed against her neck, sniffing. Then the creature's head rubbed against her shoulder, almost affectionate. Kale's eyes flew open in shock. The beast was nuzzling her like a dog seeking comfort. The golden eyes held pain and confusion, but not hostility. "That's it," she breathed, slowly raising one trembling hand. "You remember?" Her fingers made contact with soft fur, and the creature leaned into her touch. Kale stroked its head, marveling at the trust being offered. "We need to purge the silver from your blood," she murmured. "It's driving you mad. But I can help." The tower door burst open with a bang that made them both jump. A young noble stood in the doorway, a crossbow aimed at Theron's chest. Behind him, Cassian's voice rang out. "I knew she'd be dead by now. Finish it. Kill the beast." "No." Kale threw herself between the crossbow and Theron. "Don't shoot." The noble's eyes widened at finding her alive. "Move, Omega. That thing will kill you." "He's not a thing," Kale snarled. "And he won't kill anyone." Behind her, Theron's growl rumbled through the floor. She felt him move, felt his body press against her back protectively. "Fascinating." Cassian appeared in the doorway. "The beast has bonded to its prey. How inconvenient." "The wager was until dawn," Kale said. "Hours remain before dawn." "You're breaking your own terms by interfering." "The wager," Cassian replied smoothly, "assumed you'd be dead by now." "Clearly we underestimated you." He nodded. "Fire." The noble's finger tightened on the trigger. Kale saw it happening in slow motion, the bolt releasing, and knew she couldn't let Theron die. Without thinking, she reached behind her, her hand finding thick fur. And something happened that she would never be able to fully explain. Power erupted from her palm, bright, golden, warm as summer sunlight. It poured into Theron, and she felt his agony, felt the silver poison burning through his veins, felt the beast's confusion as if it were her own, healer's magic, the forbidden gift that had caused her grandmother to be burned at the stake. But for him, she would break every vow. The crossbow bolt struck Theron's shoulder and bounced off harmlessly, deflected by golden light. Cassian's eyes widened in shock, and something that looked like greed. "A healer," he breathed. "A true healer Omega." He never finished. Theron, his body flooded with Kale's healing energy, completed his transformation in a burst of light. The full wolf that emerged was magnificent, the size of a small horse, silver-gray fur rippling with golden light. And his eyes were no longer gold. They were gray again. Aware. Furious. Theron's snarl promised death. The noble dropped the crossbow and fled. Cassian tried to follow, but the wolf was faster. Theron placed himself between the humans and Kale, teeth bared. "Call off your beast, healer," Cassian demanded, though his voice shook, "or I'll have the entire royal guard here." "He's not my beast," Kale said quietly, exhausted from the magical expenditure. "He's his own person. And I think you should leave." For a moment, Cassian looked like he might argue. Then Theron took one step forward, and the High Inquisitor fled. The moment they were alone, Theron's form shimmered and shifted. In seconds, a man knelt before her, naked, panting, his wounds partially healed but his eyes haunted. "You saved me," he whispered. "Again." "You defended me," Kyle replied, reaching out to cup his face. "Even when the poison had you." Theron's hand came up to cover hers. "What are you?" he asked. "What are you?" she countered. He smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "I asked first." But before Kale could answer, Theron's expression changed. His eyes widened, his nostrils flared, and he leaned in close, breathing deep. "Your scent," he said, his voice rough. "It's changing." "How?" Then his eyes flashed gold again, but different this time. Not poison madness, something else entirely. "No," he said, horror dawning on his face. "What did I—" His hand moved to her neck, and Kale gasped as his fingers found a wound she hadn't realized was there. When he pulled his hand away, blood stained his fingertips. "When?" she whispered. When you healed me, Theron said, his voice breaking. When our magic touched, I lost control for just a moment. He looked at her with devastation. Kale, I'm so sorry. I marked you. I claimed you. And if we don't complete the bond, what happens? Theron's next words confirmed her worst fear. You'll die within 3 days. Kyle's hand trembled as she touched the bite mark on her neck. The skin around it felt hot, and thin black veins spread from the wound like cracks in glass. 3 days, she repeated numbly. Theron paced the tower room, running his hands through his dark hair. He'd wrapped himself in torn remnants of his clothes. An alpha's claiming mark bonds 2 souls. It's meant to be mutual, consensual, completed with both parties willing. His voice cracked. What I did, marking you without consent, it's incomplete. The bond is trying to form but can't. It'll consume you. Can't you just mark me again? It doesn't work that way. Theron stopped pacing. To complete it, you would have to mark me in return. But you're human, Kyle. You don't have the strength. He stopped. Wait. The healing magic. You're not just human, are you? Before Kale could answer, footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Theron positioned himself between Kale and the door. When the door opened, it was a woman in deep purple robes, flanked by guards. She was perhaps 50, with silver-streaked hair and sharp eyes. I am Magistra Rian, she announced, chief physician to the crown. Lord Cassian witnessed your display of magic and has requested I examine you both. I'm fine, Kale said quickly. Rian's sharp eyes missed nothing. She stepped closer, and Theron growled low. Peace, Alpha King, Rian said calmly. I mean her no harm. But Lord Cassian has questions about healer magic and alpha bonds. The way she said it made Kale's skin crawl. What does Cassian really want? Rian's expression flickered. Lord Cassian is interested in many things: the nature of bonds, the properties of shifter blood, the military applications of both. She paused, especially when combined with healer magic. Kale's blood ran cold. Why? Because he's been developing a weapon, Rian said quietly, glancing at the guards. A poison that specifically targets shifters. He's been testing it on captured wolves, the ones disappearing from border villages. Theron's growl deepened. Genocide. It gets worse, Rian continued. The poison works, but some shifters are developing resistance. Cassian needs alpha blood, your blood specifically, to perfect it. She looked at Kale with pity. And now he knows there's a healer who might counteract it. He'll use you to test the poison until even your magic can't stop it. Then he'll unleash it on every shifter settlement, Theron finished hollowly. One of the guards shifted uncomfortably. Magistra, we should return. I know. Rian pulled out a small knife and pricked her own finger, letting blood fall into a vial. There. I have my sample. She held Kyle's gaze meaningfully. I'll report the Omega shows no bond mark. No magic. Just a foolish girl who got lucky. Why help us? Kyle asked. Because I took an oath to heal, not help monsters commit genocide. Rian moved toward the door, then paused. When you leave this tower at dawn, go east through the servants' quarters. There's less traffic. And your sister is being held in the lower kitchens. I'll see she's moved somewhere safer. It was a warning, an escape route. We can't trust her, Theron said once they were alone. What choice do we have? Kale pressed her hand against the bite mark, feeling the heat spreading. Before Theron could answer, the door burst open. This time it was Cassian, his face twisted with rage. Rian says you're clean. I don't believe her. His hand shot out, grabbing Kyle's jaw and forcing her head to the side. His eyes widened at the bite mark. There, he breathed triumphantly. You're bonded. You're his mate. Theron moved with supernatural speed, slamming Cassian against the wall. Don't touch. Her. Guards poured into the room, crossbows raised. "Stand down, beast, or I'll have her shot." Cassian wheezed. Not to kill. Just enough to hurt. Theron's body shook with barely restrained violence, but he stepped back. Better. Cassian smoothed his robes. Here's the new arrangement. You, Alpha King, will provide blood samples. Daily. And you, Healer, will demonstrate your gift. On shifter prisoners. His smile was poisonous. Refuse, and I'll execute your sister and mine. I have both girls in custody now. Kale's world tilted. Princess Mira, too. She violated the treaty by attempting to rescue her brother, Cassian said pleasantly. Now, who wants to cooperate first? The laboratory beneath Viridian Court was a nightmare. Kale counted 7 cages, each containing a shifter in various stages of poisoning. Their whimpers echoed off stone walls. Beautiful, isn't it? Cassian gestured at his collection. 3 years of research. He pulled a vial from a cabinet. The liquid inside was viscous and black, shot through with silver. Aconitum mortis, wolfsbane extract enhanced with alchemical silver. 1 drop causes paralysis, 2 drops cause organ failure. He pointed to a corner cage. The shifter inside, a young woman, lay motionless except for shallow breathing. Black veins covered every visible inch of skin. She received 3 drops 4 hours ago, Cassian said clinically. I estimate another hour before her heart stops, unless your healing magic can save her. Kale's hands clenched. This is monstrous. This is progress. Cassian's eyes gleamed. Shifters are an aberration. We're simply correcting nature's mistake. By torturing civilians? Theron's voice was deadly quiet. They'd chained him to the wall with silver-reinforced manacles, the metal already burning his wrists despite Kale's earlier healing. These are farmers. Families. They're animals, Cassian countered. He turned to his assistant. Bring the Alpha's sister. The door opened, and guards dragged in a struggling young woman with Theron's gray eyes. Her hands were bound, her clothes torn, but she held her head high. Mira, Theron breathed, his face draining of color. Here's what's happening, Cassian said. You'll let Peter drain a pint of your blood. And you, Healer, will save the dying shifter. If either refuses or fails, I inject Princess Mira with a fatal dose. Kale met Theron's eyes across the laboratory. She saw his anguish, his helplessness. Understood, Kale whispered. The next hour was horror. Kale knelt beside the cage, hands pressed against the dying shifter's skin, pouring healing magic into a body that was more poison than blood. She felt the woman's pain as her own, felt organs shutting down. And she felt the poison itself, intelligent, adaptive, designed to resist healing. Fascinating, Cassian murmured, taking notes. The healing magic slows the poison but doesn't eliminate it. The shifter's regeneration feeds the toxin. He glanced at Theron, whose blood was being collected. Alpha blood will make it even more potent. She's dying, Kale gasped, sweat pouring down her face. Then she dies, Cassian said without emotion. No. The word came from Mira. Kale, stop. Look at your hands. Kale looked down and cried out. Black veins, identical to those on the poisoned shifter, were spreading up her arms. The bite mark on her neck was bleeding again. The bond is siphoning your energy, Mira explained urgently. Without completion, every time you use magic, you're feeding the mark instead of yourself. You'll burn out. Excellent observation, Cassian said. Which brings us to the next phase. What happens when a bonded pair is kept apart? He nodded to guards. Take the Alpha King to the eastern cells. The healer stays. No! Theron fought his chains with such violence that stone cracked. Cassian, the bond will kill her. I know, Cassian said cheerfully. That's the point. As guards began dragging Theron away, a commotion erupted from the corridor. Shouting. The clash of steel. Then, an explosion that shook dust from the ceiling. Cassian's face went white. What? The laboratory door exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped a massive gray wolf, flanked by a dozen others. They moved with military precision. The lead wolf shimmered and shifted, becoming a man. Commander Darius, Theron's second-in-command, bare-chested and battle-scarred. "Release my king," Darius snarled, "or I paint these walls with your entrails." Chaos erupted. Guards fired crossbows, but shifter wolves were faster. They moved like liquid shadows, disarming with brutal efficiency. Cassian fled toward a hidden door, grabbing vials from the cabinet as he ran, but Mira, somehow free, tackled him. He wrenched free from her grasp and disappeared through the passage, vials clutched in his hands. Darius ripped Theron's chains from the wall. "Can you shift?" "Not safely." Theron gasped. "The toxin in my blood. If I shift, it'll become airborne." "Then we carry you." Darius whistled sharply. He turned to Kale. "You're the healer." "Come." "The others." Kale gestured at the cages. "No time," Darius said grimly. But Kale was already at the cages, fumbling with locks. "I won't leave them." "Fine. Everyone grab a prisoner." They ran through smoke-filled corridors, guards shouting behind them, alarm bells clanging. Kyle's legs burned, her vision swam, black veins crawling higher with each step. Through her bond with Theron, she felt his weakness matching her own. They burst from the castle into gray dawn light. Horses waited, and wolves, dozens of them, a full pack. Among them, Kale spotted Lyra being helped onto a horse by a kind-faced wolf in human form. "Lyra!" Kyle gasped in relief. "How?" "The pack rescued me from the kitchens before the main assault," Lyra called back. "I'm okay, Kale." "The forest," Theron gasped. "Once we reach Silverpine territory." An arrow whistled past Kale's ear. She turned to see the young noble from the tower leading mounted guards, Cassian riding beside him with murder in his eyes. "Kill the healer," Cassian screamed. "I need her dead. Her blood will complete my research." More arrows. One struck Kale's wounded shoulder, spinning her around. She fell hard, pain exploding through her body. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Theron's anguished face, his hand reaching for her. Then nothing. Kale woke to softness. After the ordeal in the castle, the sensation was foreign, but pain doesn't exist in dreams, and her shoulder throbbed with each heartbeat. "Easy." Hands pressed her back down, gentle, female hands. "The arrow's out, but you lost blood." Kale's eyes focused. She was in a circular room with wooden walls carved with patterns of wolves and moons. Herbs hung from rafters. The woman tending her was perhaps 60, with silver hair braided with feathers. "Where?" "Silverpine territory," the woman said. "My healing house in the heart of Packlands. I'm Niara, High Priestess of the Moon Temple and Keeper of Bond Magic." She helped Kale sit slowly. "You're safe. Cassian can't reach you here. Your sister is safe too, sleeping in the next room." Kale's hand flew to her neck. The bite mark felt like fire. "Theron. Where's Theron?" Niara's expression grew grave. "The Alpha King lives." "Barely. Bond separation and the lingering silver toxicity are killing him." She paused. "It's killing you both." "Then let me see him." "You can't." "Not yet." Niara pulled out a leather-bound book. "When an alpha marks an omega without consent, without proper ritual, the bond becomes parasitic instead of symbiotic. Instead of two souls supporting each other, the mark tries to consume the weaker soul. In this case, you." She touched Kale's forehead, and suddenly Kale could see the bond, a silver thread connecting her heart to something distant, fraying, turning black. "How long?" Kale whispered. "A day. Perhaps less." Niara closed the book. "To complete the bond properly, you would need to mark him in return." "But you're human, Kyle." You don't have an alpha's strength, bite, or ability to forge soul bonds. But I have magic, Kale protested. Your healing magic is keeping you alive longer than any human should survive, Niara interrupted. But it's also why Theron stays away. A new voice spoke from the doorway. My brother believes proximity makes the incomplete bond worse, that his presence is killing you. A young woman with gray eyes stepped in, Mira. He's ordered that you be kept comfortable and that under no circumstances is he to be told when you die. That noble idiot, Kale breathed. It runs in the family, Mira said with a sad smile. Where is he? Mira and Nayara exchanged glances. The Moon Temple, Mira said, preparing for the severance ritual. Ice flooded Kale's veins. Severance? The only way to save your life, Niara explained. If Theron severs the bond before it kills you, you'll be free. You'll live. The process will likely kill him. His wolf won't survive losing its mate. But you'll survive. No. Kale tried to stand, gasping as pain lanced through her wounded shoulder. You don't have a choice, Mira said gently. The ritual begins at moonrise. Less than an hour. Kyle looked between them desperately. You said I don't have an alpha's bite, that I'm too weak. She grabbed Niara's hand. But what if I'm not trying to complete it as a human? What if I complete it as something else? Understanding dawned in Niara's ancient eyes. The transformation. You're suggesting you undergo the change, become like us. Can it work? Theoretically. Niara's brow furrowed. But Kale, you've already been marked. Already partially bonded. A human body can't survive both bond formation and species transformation simultaneously. What are my odds? Niara hesitated. 1 in 50. And if I do nothing? You die today. Certainly. Kale met her eyes steadily. Then I'll take 1 in 50 over 0. Show me how. You stubborn, brave fool, Mira whispered. You're perfect for my brother. Niara studied Kale, then nodded. Very well, but we must hurry. The transformation takes 45 minutes with the Blood Moon's power, and if Theron completes the severance before you finish. They dressed Kale in a white robe and led her through the Pack village. Shifters stopped to watch her pass, expressions ranging from curiosity to pity. The transformation chamber was underground, carved from living rock. Sigils covered every surface, glowing with soft blue light. In the center stood a pool of water that looked like liquid starlight. The pool is fed by the sacred spring, Niara explained, helping Kale undress. It contains concentrated wolf essence, the pure magic that makes us what we are. Immersion will trigger transformation, but Kale? She gripped the young woman's shoulders. It will hurt. More than anything you've experienced. Your bones will break and reform. Your muscles will tear and rebuild. Your soul will be reshaped. I understand. If you survive, Niara said quietly, you'll be Pack. Forever. You can never return to your human life. Is this worth that sacrifice? Kale thought of her quiet life in Ashval, everything she'd known. Then she thought of Theron, his eyes, his gentle strength, the way he'd defended her even when poison drove him mad, the way he was willing to die to save her. Yes, she whispered. It's worth everything. She stepped into the pool. The water's surface broke with barely a ripple, but the moment it touched her skin, agony exploded through every nerve. Kale opened her mouth to scream, and water rushed in, burning like liquid fire. The last coherent thought she had was, please let me survive. Please, let me save him. Then there was only darkness and transformation, and the distant sound of wolves howling at the rising moon. Theron knelt on cold stone in the Moon Temple, his body trembling. The sacred space was ancient, carved from a single massive tree that had died 1,000 years ago but refused to fall. Moonlight streamed through gaps in wooden walls. Around him, 7 elder priestesses chanted in the old tongue. On the altar before him lay a silver knife, blessed silver that could cut bonds instead of flesh. Are you certain, Alpha King? The eldest priestess, Keeper Morvana, stood before him with the knife. Once the bond is severed, there is no remaking it. Your wolf will die. You will die. But she will live. I'm certain, Theron said, though the words tasted like ash. Every cell screamed against this, his wolf howling at the thought of losing its mate. He'd already killed her once with that mark. He wouldn't do it again. Then we begin. Morvana raised the knife. When I cut the bond thread, you must not fight it. Theron closed his eyes, reaching for the silver thread that connected his soul to Kale's. He could feel her through it, her pain, her fear, her determination. I'm sorry, he whispered across the distance. The bond suddenly flared white-hot. Theron gasped, his eyes flying open. Through the connection, he felt something massive happening to Kale. Transformation. She was attempting the change. No, he breathed. Kale, don't. What's happening? Morvana demanded. She's trying to become like us, Theron said, horror and awe warring. She's transforming so she can complete the bond. The priestess's chanting faltered. That's impossible, one whispered. No human can survive transformation while bonded. I know. Theron was on his feet. I have to stop her. Pain exploded through the bond. Not his pain. Hers. Theron collapsed, feeling Kale's agony as his own. He felt her bones breaking, her muscles tearing, her human form dying, and he felt her failing. The transformation is killing her, Morvana said grimly. She's not strong enough. The bond is draining her life force faster than the pool can rebuild it. Then give her mine. Theron grabbed the silver knife and drew it across his palm without hesitation. Blood welled up, glowing faintly with alpha power. The bond is connected. If I feed her my strength, you'll die, Morvana said flatly. You don't have enough life force for both. I don't care. Theron pressed his bleeding palm to his chest over his heart. Bond magic works both ways. I can send energy as easily as receive it. In theory. That's an order, Keeper. Morvana hesitated, then nodded. As you command, my king. She began to chant again, different words, a pattern meant to reverse bond energy flow. Theron felt the shift immediately. The bond, which had been pulling from Kyle, began pulling from him instead. His life force poured down that silver thread, rushing to fill the void where Kale's human self was dying. The pain was exquisite. Every breath became a battle. Theron felt his body shutting down, felt his wolf retreating deeper, conserving strength. But through the bond, he also felt Kale's transformation accelerating, felt her bones finishing their reshaping, her muscles completing reconstruction, felt the moment when her human body died, and a wolf was born. The bond suddenly flooded with power. Not his flowing to her, but hers flowing to him. Strong, pure, blazing with healer magic and wolf essence. Impossible, one priestess breathed. Through the temple doors burst a wolf unlike any Theron had seen. She was smaller than pack wolves, with fur the color of moonlight on snow, and eyes that glowed gold with healer magic. The aura surrounding her was pure, radiant, powerful enough to make sacred wards shimmer. She shifted mid-stride, becoming a woman with silver-white hair and golden eyes, naked and covered in transformation blood, but alive. Kale, Theron breathed. She crossed the temple in 3 strides and dropped to her knees beside him, hands cupping his face. You were going to sever the bond. You were going to die. To save you, he said simply. You beautiful idiot. Her thumb traced his cheekbone. I'm not worth your life. You're worth everything. Theron's hand covered hers. Kyle, I'm sorry. For marking you without consent. For nearly killing you. She silenced him by pressing her lips to his. The kiss was brief, but sent shockwaves through the incomplete bond. "I consent," she whispered against his mouth. "I understand what the bond means now. I understand what we could be together." Her golden eyes searched his. "I choose you, Theron. I choose this. So stop apologizing and let me finish what you started." "The claiming," Morvanna said quietly. "Through the completed bond, you'll be able to speak mind to mind, a gift of true mates." Theron's heart thundered. "Kale, are you sure? Once done, it's permanent. Forever." "I know." She smiled, fierce and wild. "Sounds perfect." She leaned in, her lips finding the spot where his neck met his shoulder. Theron tilted his head, offering his throat in submission and trust. When her teeth sank into his flesh, the world exploded into light and sensation. The incomplete bond shattered, and in its place formed something new. Something complete. Something unbreakable. Two souls becoming one. "Mine," Kale whispered. "Yours," Theron answered, and the moon temple sang with the power of a completed bond. For 3 heartbeats, there was only light, and the overwhelming completeness of two souls merged into one. Kale felt Theron's thoughts as clearly as her own, felt his love and relief and fierce protective joy. And through their new connection, she could speak directly into his mind. "Is this real?" she thought. As real as breathing, Theron's voice answered in her head. "We're bonded. Forever." Then the vision hit them both. Through the completed bond, enhanced by Kale's healer sight, they saw Cassian. Not in Viridian Court, but closer. He was in Silverpine territory with 50 soldiers, carrying vials of perfected poison and riding hard toward the Pack village. "He's coming," Kale gasped aloud, pulling back from Theron's shoulder. Blood stained her lips, but the bite mark on his neck was already healing, leaving a silver scar matching hers. "He knows where we are." Theron was on his feet instantly, the bond flooding him with strength, the lingering effects of silver toxicity finally purged by their completed connection. "How long?" Kale closed her eyes, letting her new wolf senses stretch out. "An hour. Maybe less." She looked at him, fire in her eyes. "He's going to poison the water supply. The sacred spring feeds the village. If he succeeds, the whole pack dies." Theron's hands clenched. "We need to evacuate." "There's no time," Morvanna interrupted. "The spring is only 10 minutes from here." "Then we stop him," Kale said simply. She turned to Theron. "You said the bond goes both ways now, that we can share strength, abilities, and senses and instincts." Theron finished, understanding dawning. "What are you thinking?" She smiled, all wolf now. "I'm a healer who can sense poison at a distance. You're an alpha who moves faster than any human. Together." She held out her hand. "We're unstoppable." Theron took her hand, and the bond flared bright. "Together," he agreed. They ran, not as humans, but as wolves. Theron in his silver-gray form and Kale in her moonlight white one. Through the bond, they moved as one entity, Kale's healer senses guiding them while Theron's predator instincts plotted the route. Behind them, the pack mobilized. Darius rallied warriors, Mira organized village defenses, and Niara began a protective ward around the sacred spring, a temporary barrier that could hold minutes, not hours, against concentrated poison. "There," Kale's voice echoed in Theron's mind through their bond. "I smell the poison. 30 soldiers ahead, with Cassian in the center. Can you sense which ones carry the vials?" Kale's consciousness expanded, her healer magic flowing through the bond and amplifying Theron's acute senses. Suddenly they could see with perfect clarity, heat signatures, heartbeats, the chemical scent of wolfsbane and silver. "Cassian has the master vial on his belt," Kale reported, "but 5 soldiers each carry backup doses." We need to take them all simultaneously, or they'll dump it out of spite. We need the pack. As if summoned, wolves poured from the forest. Not just warriors, but the entire pack. Elders who could still fight. Adolescents eager to defend their home. Even Mira in her sleek gray form. My king. Darius's mental voice was full of determination. We stand with you. Theron's heart swelled with pride. Then let's end this. The attack was swift and coordinated. Pack wolves emerged from undergrowth on all sides, surrounding Cassian's forces. Soldiers raised crossbows, but they were trained to fight humans, not a supernatural pack moving with hive-mind precision. Kale had never fought like this, with teeth and claws, but through the bond, Theron's battle instincts guided her. She moved like liquid shadow, disarming soldiers before they could fire, using her small size and speed to advantage. But her real target was Cassian. The High Inquisitor stood at the center of his collapsing formation, the Master Vial held high. "Call them off, Beast King!" he screamed. "Call them off, or I dump this entire vial in the stream!" Theron shifted to human form, standing unafraid before his enemy. "You'll die if you do. My pack won't let you leave this forest alive." "Then we all die together," Cassian snarled. "If I can't purge the world of your corruption, at least I can take your pack with me." His hand tilted, the vial tipping toward the babbling stream that fed into the sacred spring. Kale was faster. She shifted mid-leap, becoming human as her hand closed around Cassian's wrist. Her healer magic flared, and suddenly she could see the poison for what it truly was. Complex, adaptive, but ultimately just a collection of chemical bonds that could be broken. "No," she said quietly, her golden eyes blazing. "Not today." Her power poured into the vial, unmaking the poison molecule by molecule. Cassian screamed as the liquid in his hand began to glow, then shimmer, then dissolve into harmless water. "Impossible," he breathed. "No healer is that powerful." "I'm not just a healer anymore," Kale said. "I'm pack. I'm bonded. I'm both wolf and witch. And you will never harm my family again." She released his wrist and stepped back. Cassian stumbled, staring at the empty vial. Around him, his soldiers had been disarmed and subdued, including the young noble from the tower who now knelt with his hands bound. The pack circled closer, growls rumbling like thunder. "You've lost, Cassian," Theron said. "Surrender, and you'll face trial under pack law." For a moment, Cassian looked like he might choose death. Then his shoulders sagged. "I surrender." The pack erupted in howls of victory. They'd defended their home, saved their spring, ended the threat. But Kale felt no triumph, only exhaustion. The healer magic she'd used to destroy Cassian's poison had drained her completely. Through the bond, she felt Theron's alarm as her legs buckled, her wounded shoulder throbbing intensely. He caught her before she hit the ground, cradling her against his chest. "Kyle? Stay with me." "I'm fine," she mumbled. "Just tired. Shoulder hurts." "Then rest." Theron pressed a kiss to her forehead. "You've earned it. You saved us all." As pack wolves began securing prisoners, Theron carried Kale back toward the village. Through the bond, she felt his love wrapping around her like a warm blanket. "Theron," she whispered. "Yes?" "What happens now?" He was quiet, thinking. "Now we rebuild. Cassian's capture will send a message to Viridian Court. With him and his co-conspirator arrested, we can negotiate a real peace treaty." "And us?" Kale asked. Theron stopped walking and looked down at her. "We live, Kale. We heal together. We lead together. You're my bonded mate, which makes you pack royalty." He added quickly, "If you want this life." "I chose you," Kale interrupted. "That's all the choice I needed." They reached the healing house to find Lyra waiting. Kale's heart leaped. "You're alive?" Lyra threw herself at Kale. "Your eyes are different. And your hair. It's silver now." "I'm different," Kale admitted. I'm Pack now, a shifter. I can never go back to being fully human. Lyra considered this for 3 seconds, then shrugged. Can I learn to shift too? Despite everything, Kale laughed. That's not exactly how it works. But she can stay? Lyra looked hopefully at Theron. For as long as you want, Theron said warmly. You're Kale's family, which makes you Pack family. Always welcome. Niara emerged from the healing house. Bed. Now. You've burned through more magic today than most healers use in a year, and that shoulder wound needs proper treatment. She looked at Theron. And you, Alpha King, need to stay close. The bond is still settling. I'm not going anywhere, Theron said firmly. They settled Kale in a soft bed piled with furs. Theron lay beside her, with Lyra curled in a chair nearby. Through the window they could hear the pack celebrating. Howls of joy, songs of victory. Later, Mira brought news that Magistra Rian had gone into hiding after helping them, protected by loyal staff who opposed Cassian's genocide. She'd sent word that she was safe and would testify when the time came. Theron? Kale whispered as she drifted towards sleep. Yes. Thank you. For being worth surviving for. Thank you for choosing to survive. His voice answered in her mind. For choosing us. Through the bond, she felt his love and gratitude, felt the pack's acceptance flowing around them. Felt Lyra's presence, safe and happy. Felt the completeness of finally belonging. This was home. This was family. And as sleep claimed her, surrounded by love and Pack, and the mate her soul had chosen, Kale knew with absolute certainty that she'd survived one night beside the Alpha King. And she'd chosen to stay beside him for every night after. Forever.